Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. On our last story, I posted on how to draft a shirt collar, and today I'll be teaching you on how to make a unisex vintage shirt. So firstly, I folded my fabric into two. The next thing, I'm going to be marking my shirt length. For my length, I'm using 29. Then I'm going to be adding extra 2 inches because I'm still going to be slanting the shoulder, the upper part. So I added 2, and one for the slanting, and also one for hemming allowance. So I'm just making sure the folded part is straight, so I cut the excess out there. So from the front, from the part that is opening, don't forget that this fabric is placed into 2. So I'm going to mark 2 inches from the up to the down. So I'm going to mark 2 inches and connect it to the length of the shirt. Then after marking that, I'm going to be dividing my bust, the biggest part of my body, and the biggest part of the body I'm using now is 41. So I'm going to be dividing that into 2, and I will also add extra 2 inches allowance. 2 inches, the 2 inches allowance, one stand for ease and one stand for sewing allowance. So I'm going to be connecting that from the up to the down. I hope you understand. Sorry, my camera is not capturing the length of the shirt. So I'm taking the 12 inches is the complete measurement for everything. So I'm taking it. Remember, I did not take it from the starting point, which is the place and the first point. I already marked the 2 inches for button allowance before marking my 12 inches. So everything together that I'm cutting out now is 14 inches. So don't make mistake by not removing your 2 inches for button allowance. So next thing, I took a notch from the up and the down part to fold it inward. So you're going to fold in your button allowance inward, and you're going to you can use your iron to press it so that you will have a crease line there before moving to the next thing. So you know that I'm cutting directly on my fabric, so this fabric is so shaking, so I'm just using my pin to hold it down, so there won't be any error. So after that, I bring my iron and press it down, press the button allowance down. Remember, I've folded it inward. So after that, I'm going to be taking my shoulder measurement divided into 2. So, and I'm going to be adding extra 1 inches because this is a shirt and it's supposed to be free at the upper part there. So I took 2 inches down and I'm slanting into the edge like so. Then I'm going to be taking it off. I'm going to cut it away from the fabric. So that is my starting point, because I love my shoulder to be very slanted, so especially when I'm making a shirt. So I'm just arranging the fabric because this fabric, it tends to be very shaking, especially when you are drafting directly on the fabric. So yeah, I'm just showing you. Then I'm going to mark my shoulder measurement again, and I'm going to mark the point there. Then I'm confirming the length of my shirt to confirm that I still have the measurements I needed. So yeah, the fabric is not aligning, so I'm just going to be trimming out the excess. So before that, I wanted to take my hammer now, but I prefer to be doing it directly after I place the front on my back measurement. You're going to understand the reason why in this video. So I'm trimming out the excess I have at this part, and I'm going to be placing it on the back. Now for the back, you can see from the edge it is folded, unlike the front that it was opening. So now from the folded part, that is where I place where my button allowance is, because that is where my neckline is going to be. So now I'm going to come down by 3 inches, and I'm going to be shifting my front to meet that 3 inches from my back. I hope you understand. Sorry, my camera is not recording the actual length. So I first of all slant the shoulder, then I'm coming down by 3 from the down, then I'll shift it, and from there I'm going to be folding this remaining part to meet the front, like I'm doing. So I'm just using my iron to press it down so that it can lay flat down. So after that being done, I'm going to be taking my back measurement, my shoulder measurement from there. So you see, I'm taking it directly from my back measurement, the folded part. So I'm going to measure my armhole, then I measure it there and I connect it like so. So I'm just going to rule a straight line to meet the points I just marked through. To create my armhole, I'm going to be dividing that line into 2. Then whatever I have there, I'm just going to use my hand to curve it like so. So after that, I'm going to confirm what I have. If it is okay for me and it is very okay, then I'm going to be cutting it out. So before cutting it out, let's move to the neckline. To get your neckline, for mine, I prefer using this measurement. I go down from the folded part by 4, then I come in by 2. The reason why I use this is because sometimes to get my client's neck, sometimes I don't used to measure the neck. I just take this, and whenever I'm done sewing, before I attach my collar to the shirt, I'm going to, if I took the round measurement, and I discover that it will be too small for my client, I'm going to trim it out. Don't worry, when I'm making the collar, I'm going to be explaining better there. So see how I'm cutting the neckline like so. You can see that I raised the front up, then I didn't cut it together with the back, and for the back I just cut it out like so. I hope you can see clearly. So don't do mistake by cutting it together with the back. So that is for the front, and for the side I'm going to be cutting it out also like so. So please take your time to watch this video carefully for better understanding. So I've gone ahead to cut the armhole out like so. So I'm going to set the back aside and work with the front pattern now. Sorry, the front. So for the front, I'm going to be gumming an stay to the button allowance. The button allowance that I marked earlier, I'm going to be gumming an stay to it. So, and because I'm going to show you how I will do that on my front. Before, I'm not going to be folding directly on that 2 inches allowance that I marked, because this is our front and it needs a button allowance. So I'm going to from that notch point, I'm going to go outward by 1/2 inches. So I'm going to be folding it from that 1/2 inches. So I'm doing that at the length, not knowing my camera is not capturing it. And I'm also going to repeat the same thing on the top. So you're going to see it clearly when I'm doing the top, what I'm doing there. So from the notch part, I'm going to come in from the notch part by half an inch. So that's what I'm trying to fold there, because we are not going to be using the former notch, the both the 2 inches. That means I'm folding it by 1.5 inches. I hope you understand. So I left half inches from the 2 inches I fold earlier. So that's what I do. I've already ironed, got my hairstay with it. So now before doing this, so now I'm going to fold in my 1.5 inches like so. And after ironing it, I'm going to be folding half an inch inward again, because we are not going to be stitching the button allowance wide like this, because 1.5 is too wide for it. So I will be folding half an inches inward, and the remaining many allowance I will have there to stitch on will be 1 inch. So I've went ahead and I've done it to the two parts. Went ahead to stitch it. Then I'm going to be cutting the sleeve for the shirt now. So I'm just arranging the fabric I have left for it. So I'm arranging everything. So I'm going to be cutting the two sleeves together at once. So I'm going to be folding my fabric two into four, into four. So for the length of the sleeve, I'm using 10 inches because it's a short hand. Okay, so I'm going to be using 10 inches for it, and I'll mark it down. And for the folding, because the sleeve is going to be have a folding, so if for the folding allowance, I'll be using 3 inches. So that is how wide I want the folding to be. So after connecting the length, so the next thing now is to cut it out. I'm cutting it out first before doing other things. So I'll just cut it out like so. So to get how to draft your sleeve, I drop a tutorial on that on my channel. You can go ahead and watch it for better understanding. So from the 3 inches, I notch the point and I fold it inward. Then I will mark my round sleeve. So, and I'm going to be adding 1 inch for ease and half inches for joining allowance. So that makes it 1.5 inches. Then from here, I'm going to be come down by the biceps, and I'm going to be connecting it like so to create an curve for the sleeve. So I'm going to be confirming, I'm going to be taking what I have to get the measurement I need. So I'm going to take the back of my shirt, and I'm going to be marking what I have there. So to get the accurate measurement, I'm going to join both in the front and the back together. Then I will measure whatever I have there. So that will be what I will measure on my sleeve also. So after taking it, I'm going to confirm the same measurement I have there on my sleeve like so, and I'm going to be adding 1 inches for my sewing allowance too. So don't forget to add your sewing allowance. Then I'm going to be connecting it to the round sleeve there, and I'll cut it out. So yeah, I'm just confirming the measurement I have here. I realized I didn't add the half inches to it, so that's what I just added back to that. So I will cut it out like so. So that is for the sleeve. So I've cut out in first notch, so I'm just notching that point back, and this is what it looks like after cutting it. This is what it looks like now. I'm going to be folding it inward like so, and one is stitched across that. So that is the short sleeve for the shirt. So the next thing now is I'm going to bring my back piece. For the back piece, it's going to have a small yoke for the facing, but this facing is going to be at the back of the shirt. You see some shirts that always have this type of facing, so that's what I'm doing. But most shirts is usually for men that always have it, but it can also be unisex. So I'm cutting facing for mine because I love it. I love my shirt to be having facing. It's not quite necessary, but for me, I love adding facing to my shirt. So I'm going to be that's what I'm going to be taking there. So I'll be using 8 inches. That is the length for the length of the shirt, of the facing that I want. So I'll be using 8 inches. So I'm just trying to get that 8 inches there. So that I'll cut it out with the accurate 8 inches. So I discovered that I'm still going to be needing to join it. So I added an extra half inches to it. So half inch, sorry. So that makes it 8.5 inches. So that's what I will be cutting out from the facing now. See, this fabric, it is very stressful to draft on it, to cut on it, because it won't stay in one place. So I'm just trying to rearrange it now. I'm trying to rearrange it because it has already shaped before. So after making sure I have the accurate measurement, I cut it out. I'm cutting it out using the measurement for the back, like so, with the neck, the shoulder slant, because this is the facing for the back. I hope you understand. Now I'm going to open it up. Now I'm going to be showing you on how you join it to the back. So I'm going to be placing the wrong side of the facing on the right side of my back piece, and I'm just making sure the length I want is accurate. But yeah, I felt it's too long, so I want to take away half inch from the facing length. The length I have here is more than what I want, because I have almost 9 inches there. So I'm taking half inches away from that. So whatever I have left now is very okay for me, because I don't want it to be too long. Okay, so next thing I'm going to be doing now is that I'm now going to turn it from I'm going to face it with front side of the facing the front side, like the right side of the back piece. I hope you understand. Then I'm going to be coming up from half inches from where the length is, and I'm going to face it like that. You can see how I place it on it. Then I'm going to be running a stitch across that. So I'm done doing that, and this is what it looks like after joining it to the back piece. You can see, and the shoulder and the neck side is still open. So now after that bit done, the next thing is to attach my front piece to the back piece. So I'm going to be going ahead to join the shoulder like this. I'm going to be using the facing to turn the shoulder too, like so I'm going to be stitching it there, and I'll do it for the second side. So I'm done doing that now, and this is what it is looking like. This is what it is looking like. You can see the shoulder. It doesn't have uh, any allowance because the allowance is inside. I've used that facing to turn it. Then I'm going to be closing it this side. I'm going to join the sleeve to it and close the side together with it. So I've done that, and next thing now is for me to go ahead and draft my collar. But before I go, I'm going to take my round neck measurement. So I'm going to take my round neck measurement. Please take your time whenever you want to take this, because you must get the accurate measurements before you go and draft your collar, so that your collar will be able to fit in with your neck, your shirt neckline. So what I have here is not enough for me. So that's what I said when I was cutting the neck. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim it, because I have about 16 inches there, but it is because that would be too small for me. So I have to trim it because I need like 18 inches. Please be careful when you are trimming this. Don't trim too much. It is better you trim twice or thrice to get what you want than to cut everything off and it will be too wide and you won't like the end result. So just take your time when trimming that out. And this, I'm taking the neck measurement again, and here I have 17, and it's not still enough. So because tell you I need 18 inches, I'm going to go back to trim it again. That's why I said you must take your time when doing this, because I love doing this, because I don't like cutting my neckline out and everything will now be too wide. So I love doing this. So I'm just trying to make it align properly before trimming it out, so that everything will be equal. I hope you understand. So I'm trimming the excess out now. After trimming again, I will go back and measure what I need, measure the neckline to see if it is exactly what I needed. So making sure, please, you can see how I'm taking my measurements now. Please take your time to take yours too. So I already get what I want here, so that's what I'm going to be going ahead to draft on my pattern for my collar. I hope you understand. So at this point I still need to trim a little bit off, because I felt the the inches is not enough. So this is me taking it again. See, I can't remember, is this the third time I'll be trimming or the fourth time? That is why I said take your time. Take your time whenever you are doing yours. And so I already get what I needed. So now let's draft the collar. I already have a video of how to draft the shirt collar on my channel, but for better understanding on this particular video, I'm going to be explaining again. So I have 18.5 on my shirt neck, round neck. So I'm dividing that into two, and for the collar stand I will come up by 1.25. So I love to use 1.25 because I don't like my collar stand to be too wide. So I'm using 1.25 for the length. So I'm going to be connecting that on a straight line. This is the best and the most simple drafting for making collar, because you don't have to do much calculation or more stress. Then from the point, I'm going to come in by 1 inches and go up by 2.5 inches. That is how long I want my collar to be. And from the folding part, I'm going to mark 1.5, and I'll connect it with my curve ruler like so, because I don't want it to be so straight. So that's why I'm using my curve ruler like so. Then from the 1 inches we mark earlier, I'm going to be coming out by half inches and also connecting it to the 1 inch at the collar standpoint. I hope you understand. This is to give it the sharp edge that a collar should have. So, and I gave the collar stand also a small curve at the edge like so. Then I'm cutting that out. So this is the best and simple method of cutting your collar for your shirt. I hope you understand. So I'm using a collar stay. I'm drafting on my collar stay, not on a paper. So this is the collar stay. When you get to the market and tell them you want a collar stay, they are going to be giving you. So it is the best collar. It is the best day for your collar. I've used hard stay before, soft stay before, but I highly recommend a collar stay. So I've cut it out, and I've already gum it on my fabric, and the fabric are into two. Now I'm going to head over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to be joining as using my hand to illustrate. So I'm done joining that now. So I'm going to trim out the excess. I'm going to be trimming out the excess at the side, the up, and the other side, and I will be turning it over to the right. I hope you understand, because this is the wrong side, so I'll be turning it over to the right side like so. And I'll be making sure I use my a sharp object like my scissors to make sure the pointy side is well pronounced. So that is what I'm making sure here, and I'm going to iron it. But before that, because they have two lights here, so I'm going to tell you what to do next. So for my collar stand, remember I cut it in two, then I gum my collar stay on one. So I notch the mid part of the collar, and I will also notch the mid part of the collar stay like two, because I'm going to be placing them together to join. So I have to notch the midpoint so that everything will be aligned together. So I place the collar at the middle. I'm going to be placing the middle between the collar stay, so right face facing each other. Then I'm going to run a stitch across like so. So this is what I have after joining it, and I've used my iron to press it down, and I also fold the the remaining parts, which is the half inches. I also folded it inward. So to attach it to the shirt, I'm going to be notching the middle part of my neckline. I'm going to be notching it like so, and I'm going to be attaching my collar on it. Then I'm also going to be folding the collar stand and also notching the mid part of the down part like so, because I'm going to be folding it. I'm going to be joining it from the midpoint to the front. I hope you understand. So I'm going to be joining it like so, like you see me placing it. So after joining it, I'm going to use the other part to cover it like so, and that will be all. And that will be all for the shirt. And this is the final look after joining the color. You can see how beautiful the color is sitting on the shirt and how everything is aligned. And then I went ahead to use my chalk to mark buttonhole and the button. So this is the final look, guys. Thank you all for watching my tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe, like and comment. Bye.